Now let's dive into the presidential stuff. You reminded me, you just talked about the men and women and the provision of freedom based on their sacrifice. I don't know if you've heard the audio or not, but earlier today, our friend Timothy Geithner said that wealthy people should pay more taxes because of the privilege of being an American.
Let's call a spade a spade. I mean, the entire current administration under the America-hating Barack Obama and the American-hating Joe Biden and the American Constitution criminal Eric Holder. Tim Geithner is a perfect example of what the current American government stinks like, because Tim Geithner is a tax cheat. Tim Geithner was caught not paying his taxes. So instead of being in jail, Tim Geithner, the tax cheat, is actually in charge of the economy, of our financial system. Are you kidding me? Why don't we just hire Jeffrey Dahmer to be in charge of the children's playground? I mean, this whole administration is so corrupt. It abuses power like no one in the history of the United States of America has ever done. And Tim Geithner is a poster child, just like Eric Holder, running guns to the Mexican drug gangs. Are you kidding me? Can it get crazier? Can it get more criminals than this? We have criminals. We have American-hating maniacs in our government, and Tim Geithner's latest nonsense is a perfect example of that.
So what do these candidates need to do? Because it doesn't seem like the four candidates that are still left on the Republican side of the aisle have been able to, in polls, come out ahead. And I know polling data is going to change, but what do you need to hear from one of these four guys, whoever the one is that comes out as the nominee? What needs to be said to the American people to convince them to make a change in November?
Well, number one, if we listen closely to the four Republican candidates, I have great admiration in varying degrees for each and every one of them. Each and every one of these candidates have some really, really quality positive points about them, and each one of them would make a vastly superior president of the United States than the current mess that we're in right now. That should be perfectly clear to anybody with a brain. But ultimately, these guys got to go down to the Army Navy surplus store and buy themselves a box of scrotums. They got to get some balls. They got to get tough, condemning the current self-inflicted tailspin of the Obama administration, literally following the Cloward Piven and the Saul Alinsky playbook on how to destroy America, how to destroy freedom, how to destroy capitalism, how to literally condemn being the best that you can be while they reward people for being the worst that they can be. These four presidential candidates have to get a little tougher, a little bit more fist-pounding on the bully pulpit, and identify the curse, the abject curse that is the United States government the way it stands right now in the hands of Barack Hussein Obama and Eric Holder et al. So I admire these four Republican candidates, but until they show some real balls and some real adamancy, I don't think they're going to get the momentum they're going to need.
And see, I agree with you. I think there's been a lot of fighting back and forth, and I understand that in a primary. You want to show how you're different from your opponents. But I just think there is so much low-hanging fruit when it comes to this administration, especially now with its foreign policy and the Iranians and apologizing to Afghanistan. But now the gas prices looking like they're getting close to $4, maybe going to $5 a gallon. Why they're not going after this low-hanging fruit of the ridiculous policies of this administration?
Yeah, speaking of ridiculous policies, anti-American policies, this current anti-American monster in the White House, this administration is blatant and flagrantly abusing the Constitution, violating the Constitution, and continuing on a death march for America. So yeah, the four candidates, not just low-hanging fruit, Mike, is literally squashed rotten fruit that has fallen on the ground, and anybody with a speck of brain or conscientiousness just has to reach down and pick up this bad fruit and expose it to the people that it's rotten, it's maggot infested, and we need to quit with this stuff and start going for the best fruit we can, which comes straight from the United States Constitution.
Now, I know that you are a family guy. I know that that's very important to you. Give me a couple of things that are most important when you're looking. I'm not going to ask you to endorse a candidate with the four that are left, but what do you want? What is it about one of these guys that's going to lean you toward them? What is going to be a deal maker for you for the guy you want to see come out of this ahead?
To, number one, maximize the strength of the United States military and the posture that we will take no crap, that we send a message to our allies and our enemies that we will never, ever expose ourselves to the conditions that brought about 9/11 by showing weakness, by not sharing the maximum intelligence and putting it to work every day, and letting the heroes of the various agencies, because there are still heroes in those federal agencies, and the ones that blow whistles and the ones that raise hell are the ones that we've got to listen to. So number one, national defense. Number two, the entire welfare program is slavery. We're literally enslaving people to feed off of a government and rewarding people to be the worst that they can be, to not try something, get rid of this embarrassment that there's a list of jobs Americans aren't willing to do. Are you kidding me? How about the condition where Americans have actually given up looking for work? That is so embarrassing. Why don't these people just move to France? So number one, national security, rewarding the productive and punishing the non-productive, because if you are non-productive, you chose to be non-productive. This is the kind of old guard American attitude of being the best, not accepting the worst, and, helping people out, but not letting Fedzilla help people out, because Fedzilla can't help people out. Fedzilla just teaches people to be dependent, and that's a soulless condition. And ultimately, the government should get the hell out of our personal lives. We should get back to the basics of the United States Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and not be reinterpreting things. The right to keep and bear arms means I get to keep it. You can't have it. And bear arms means I've got some on me right now. We got to get back to the basics. And when the basics are returned to, that candidate will win.